Major news in the crypto world.
The largest enforcement action in Treasury's history.
$4.3 billion.
To settle money laundering charges.
And for willfully violating U.S. economic sanctions.
Technically right now 13 charges, but they really just boil down to 3 points.
The array of illegal conduct allegedly facilitated by Binance was breathtaking.
The CEO expected to plead guilty.
Agreeing to pay billions in fines as part of the settlement.
The message here should be clear.
Crypto is under the U.S. Law enforcement regime, which it hadn't been before.
Now, if you only saw the news headlines and the government press releases,
Binance has agreed to plead guilty to willfully violating the Bank Secrecy Act.
You would think that CZ, the CEO and founder of the largest crypto exchange in the world, is yet another crypto criminal who got what he deserved. But that narrative doesn't fit CZ, especially when you consider that Binance was one of the only companies in crypto that didn't steal your money like FTX.
There was no real business there. The whole thing, as I understand it, I think was just one big Ponzi scheme, right?
Or go bust like Terra Luna.
I mean, in 1 week, Luna has gone from $80 a token to less than $1.
Or create an outright Ponzi scheme with customer funds like Celsius. Binance has been the safest exchange and the best place to trade for years. So the question is, who are regulators protecting by targeting CZ? Or said differently, who benefits by taking out CZ and crippling Binance? Now, the answer to that question is what we'll explore in this video because it gives us a hint about what the next major move for crypto will be, and it also shows that the CZ case has little to do with Binance and a lot to do with an event that could change the trajectory of the coming bull market. Now, to understand this game of chess and why getting rid of CZ was so important, you have to look at the key players involved: US lawmakers, Coinbase, FTX, and the largest fund in the world, Blackrock. To connect the dots, we have to go back to when Binance launched in 2017. And this was also the time period when it was easiest for Americans to trade on the platform, and where the problems began. Now, the crypto landscape looked way different. As crazy as crypto seems today, it embodied even more of that Wild West spirit when the exchange first started. Now, big crypto money flowed to whichever site had the hottest altcoins. And because of this, it didn't take long for Binance to become the largest exchange in the world, with trading volumes higher than the combined volumes of other competing exchanges. But the rise to the top was not easy. Binance faced constant legal battles right away, which threatened collapse of the exchange several times. Whether it was China banning Bitcoin trading, or the frequent police raids of official Binance offices around the world from governments who wanted tighter controls. CZ had to focus on survival as much as he did expansion. To be completely honest, it's been near impossible for any crypto company to operate confidently, and a lot of the laws still aren't clear today. For example, Bittrex, a crypto exchange that was popular when Binance launched, did everything that it could to comply with the laws and regulations, and even they were recently forced to shut down. Here's a tweet from the CEO of Bittrex, Richie, when he announced that Bittrex would have to shut down. Today, Bittrex is beginning the process of winding down its US operations. Regulatory requirements are often unclear and enforced without appropriate discussion or input, resulting in an uneven competitive landscape. Now think about that. An exchange which took the polar opposite approach to Binance and prioritized being cautious to make regulators happy was eventually forced to wind down in the US. This is an important note in the CZ story, and you'll see why when BlackRock enters the picture in a minute. Now, once it became clear that the United States was taking a stricter approach to crypto regulations, Binance stopped allowing US customers to trade on the exchange. They even opened a Binance US site to satisfy the tighter rules for Americans. Meanwhile, the global Binance exchange continued to grow. It didn't go bust. They survived multiple hack attempts and offered the best trading experience for millions of people around the world, which made CZ one of the wealthiest people in the world. But the investigations continued, and it reached a climax in the most recent cycle when two major catalysts lined up: the collapse of the FTX exchange and the very real potential for a Bitcoin spot ETF to pass from BlackRock. The reason that CZ was thrown back under the microscope during the FTX saga is because he was one of the first people to publicly call out SBF on Twitter, warning everyone how bad the situation really was.
I got a call from Sam 48 hours after I made the tweet, and then he wanted to talk. So at the beginning, I thought he would just wanted to do a buyout, do an OTC deal to buy out the FTT tokens we had. And then he wanted actually a buyout of the entire firm, of the entire FTX platform. But then we got our team on it. It was pretty clear pretty soon that there's misappropriation of user funds. The user funds are gone. And at that point, it's clearly that he lied to his users, his investors, his VC investors, his employees. At that point, I thought I couldn't like whatever data that's in the data room, we couldn't trust anymore.
The mainstream media turned this on Binance, claiming that his tweets intentionally caused a bank run.
At some point, we're going to look at that week of November 6th, and you ask anybody, why was Sam Bankman-Fried or the whole company FTX forced into bankruptcy? It was jamming down that last $500 million that gave them no option. Now, is that the fatal stroke or blow to get rid of your global competitor? I say yes.
And following the downfall of Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX exchange, regulators went on the most aggressive crackdown yet, targeting Coinbase, Binance, and several major coins in a nonstop retaliation to the destruction that FTX caused.
The underlying Bitcoin cash markets, there's not the robust oversight that you have in the stock markets or in the derivatives markets. Our sister agency oversees Bitcoin futures, but those underlying cash markets do not have those investor protections.
Now, by 2023, the puzzle pieces are starting to come together, and the true motives for why this CZ case was such a priority are becoming clear, especially after the next major player enters the picture.
Asset management giant Blackrock took the first steps yesterday to launch a spot Bitcoin ETF, filing an application with the SEC to launch the iShares Bitcoin Trust.
So a huge vote of confidence when you look at Blackrock and its ability to try to do this after dozens of companies have come forward and tried to create a Bitcoin ETF with no avail
Blackrock,
from the SEC.
who's the largest asset manager in the world, has its sights on launching the first Bitcoin spot ETF. Now, this completely opened the door for a fresh narrative to emerge. Unregulated offshore actors in the crypto space are out, and safe traditional onshore players are taking over. And throughout 2023, the probability of that spot Bitcoin ETF have become increasingly likely as firms like Coinbase, Blackrock, and NASDAQ team up in their offerings. Now, so far, the SEC's reasons for not allowing one to pass have been related to the potential for market manipulation on unregulated exchanges. Now, despite this, leading ETF analysts have predicted that the chances for a spot Bitcoin ETF approval is now 90% or higher by 2024. And if we look at the Bitcoin spot ETF filings that are currently waiting approval, they're almost all using Coinbase as their custodian, including the Blackrock ETF. Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, had this to say about the recent news regarding CZ and Binance's case.
In this environment, we're seeing that regulators are finally acting and they're creating that level playing field. So I think this is vindicating of our strategy, and I think it's good for the industry too to sort of turn the page, make sure that we're following the laws where it's clear today around AML and KYC, and then also make sure that we're getting clarity about the areas of the law where it's not yet clear in terms of commodities, securities, and there's new legislation on the horizon that I think Congress can help with there.
And he's not the only one that makes it clear what has to happen before the Bitcoin ETF gets approved. Here's Senator Loomis, a lawmaker who's been incredibly active at pushing crypto legislation here in the US.
We looked at what went wrong with FTX and other failures and filled those gaps and loopholes. So we're ready to go.
Now, when you take a step back and you look at the timeline, first, the rise of offshore exchanges like Binance dominating crypto volumes globally, and then the collapse of FTX, which sparked the crypto regulatory crackdown here in the US, followed by BlackRock making a serious Bitcoin ETF push, and finally, this CZ Binance case, targeting the largest offshore exchange in the world, making the CEO step down, pay a $4 billion fine, and have stricter oversight of all Binance operations. The true motive and the path forward from the perspective of US regulators is starting to become clear. Taking out CZ with regulatory enforcement and making them pay a $4 billion fine wasn't about protecting Americans. And the only thing they protected Americans from was trading on the most liquid exchange that kept all client funds safe since day one. This was about the government taking their cut and taking back control of crypto in America. Now, some other smart investors have also connected the dots and caught on to what actually happened here. The US government is like a stud offensive line, each three-letter agency playing its position perfectly as it clears the space of its current actors and paves the way for a big donor running back Larry Fink, who's the CEO of BlackRock. Quite something to watch regulatory capture in real time like this. Can anyone remind me what Senator Loomis said last month? The Department of Justice to finish its investigation and consider criminal charges against Binance. One of the biggest Bitcoin proponents on the Hill, simply setting the table for Larry Fink and his friends. I think it's pretty apparent at this point the USA is doing a hostile takeover of crypto, attack all the important and non-knee-bending crypto native entities, and push the suit-friendly and, more importantly, American Coinbase plus BlackRock ETF. So what does this mean?
Some countries ban crypto exchanges, some countries ban ICOs, some countries have banned crypto derivatives. Some countries have even banned banks from working with crypto exchanges. But holding Bitcoin is, as far as I know, is legal in every single country in the world. Technology is evolving at a much faster pace than what regulators are doing. So I think the technology will always be a little bit ahead of what the regulations are.
The stage is now set for that BlackRock Bitcoin Spot ETF, which could truly kick off this next major bull run. Personally, I'm grateful for CZ's efforts for allowing people around the globe to buy Bitcoin, to trade altcoins, to get into crypto, and to make crypto what it is today, despite all the risks. I mean, CZ could even face jail time now, depending on how this case goes. But in my book, the guy is an absolute legend. But I also want to hear what you guys think. So drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think, and leave a like if you enjoyed this breakdown. Subscribe to catch new vids dropping soon, covering all the madness, the most interesting stories in crypto going down right here.